Hello fellow Clashers, it is KairosTime and welcome to another challenge-winning deck. Now this deck is beyond unique. It's crazy. This was submitted to me by Mikey, M1K3Y7 and he won a grand challenge with this deck. It totally blew my mind. He was like, hey, look what I just did. And I was like, are you kidding me? What is this deck? It's a super unique deck. Giant Skeleton Bandit Mirror. And it seriously is so unique. Now, as soon as I saw this, I had to try this deck out. I absolutely had to. And I will be the first to tell you that this deck is not easy to master. However, Mikey did win a grand challenge, the 12th round, on his very first try. The deck does have a lot of potential, but it's not very easy to use, so I highly recommend watching the rest of this video, checking out the actual written guide on ClashRoyaleArena.com that will be linked in the description below so that you can learn how to use this. It's definitely a lot of fun. Now here, we'll just start off here and take a look and see what situation he's in right now. This deck is absolutely great at stopping Inferno Towers and Inferno Dragons because that Electro Wizard in there. You do have to be careful about how you use it. Mikey is a really strong defender. He uses this deck very well to defend his pushes and then use that as a counter push with either the Giant Skeleton or the Double Bandit push. Double Bandit paired up with the log is surprisingly difficult to stop if you know what, if your opponent doesn't have the right counters to it. Very unique. We also have the Tornado in here. The Tornado is going to help you to activate your King's Tower if your opponent puts down like a Hog Rider or the Miner or even the Goblin Barrel, which are more fast-paced decks, and that's useful to use especially for those fast-paced decks because this deck is so heavy-paced. Now here, what Mikey did is he just put his Giant Skeleton at the tower, and what he's doing is he's trying to pull out his opponent's counters. And what he did, he was able to pull out that Inferno Tower so that he can then build up a really strong defense. If you take a look at this right here, he's got all those two splash damaging troops, the Executioner and the Wizard, paired up with that Tornado. Anything that is paired up or is set out behind the Golem, like a Wizard like we saw earlier, is going to be able to get totally damaged and taken out because of that Tornado and the splash damage that comes with those other troops. Now he had a really massive push. He was not able to get an actual hit onto the tower. His Wizard does do some damage here. There's the Electro Wizard. But now he knows that he needs to defend. His opponent has the one up on him, and so he's able to put down that Golem, and he has to defend here. What he does is he does a double splashed unit. Now, one mistake that I make when I'm playing this deck is I actually try and defend a little bit more with the Giant Skeleton, but the problem with that is that leaves me with without anything to counter push. And so when you're doing this, try your best to try and keep your Wizards and stuff there as a defense, and then place your Giant Skeleton to counter push. Here he does his signature Double Bandit to help take out that Inferno Tower. The Bandit is a very excellent card at actually just getting rid of support troops and defenses like that while your Giant Skeleton is tanking. And there he pulls off that win in this grand challenge. Super interesting, very unique. Let's go ahead and jump into more replays so you guys can get some more examples on how to use this. Okay, so whenever you're playing a challenge, classic or grand challenge, at least right now, you are almost guaranteed to face some Lava Hound decks. I don't often see the Lava Loon at the very end of the challenges, but you do see it at least at the very beginning because it does such a good job at countering. Now, Mikey actually pulls kind of a ballsy move there. He just barely starts out by putting his Giant Skeleton at the very front. Why does he do this? He does it to try and figure out what kind of counters his opponent has to both the Giant Skeleton and the Bandit. Frequently, the Giant Skeleton counters are similar to the Bandit. Not in every single case, but because he's facing against somebody that has the Lava Hound Balloon deck, other people are calling it Lava Noob, then his opponent was not able to do anything to defend. He does have Skeleton Army in his deck, but he didn't have it in rotation, and that meant that he was able to get a ton of damage off his opponent's tower right at the very beginning. Right here, he places down this bandit. He's expecting something, so he has that log ready just in case his opponent has something else to defend. And so he ends up, he knows that his opponent is in rotation, has completed his rotation. He was hoping to pull out some type of a skeletons or something like that. And here, he didn't do the log in time because his opponent originally defended it with the miner. Very interesting that his opponent didn't do that. I guess that makes is what makes a skilled defender. He knew that Mikey had that giant skeleton in his deck and decided to save that skeleton. Because that mirror bandit wasn't able to get to the tower, now Mikey's in a good rotation where he can place down his giant skeleton again without having to worry about it being defended by the skeleton army. So what Mikey does right here, he's got this lava loon coming down here. He has his trio of wizards basically doing all of this splash damage right here. His opponent does not have the elixir to be able to place down the fireball until it's a little too late, and instead he decides to try and go on the offense with a miner to tank right there. Now that wizard is going to end up being able to take out that tower, but now he has a giant skeleton down, and that executioner along with the electro wizard is going to be able to help to defend. He plays down that second bandit with that mirror to try and get some stuff here, and that executioner totally rips through that minion horde, and that leaves Mikey with a 3-crown victory in this grand challenge. Absolutely crazy. It's a ton of fun, guys. You guys need to try this deck out. Okay, so now here we are coming up with the Grand Challenge winning replay. Up to 12 rounds, this is where nerves start to settle in. This is where you get nervous. You're like, if I lose, I'm not going to get 5,000 gold more. It's super crazy. The nerves definitely get up here. So he ends up starting out with a little bit of support in the very back. Not a bad option, but his opponent does use the rocket, which is really unfortunate that he lost so much damage onto his tower as well as that executioner. He does have a replacement though. Most likely his opponent doesn't have the rocket and the fireball, so putting a wizard in the back is actually pretty fair. A good option. One thing that is very interesting right now in the meta is most people will switch or use the executioner instead of the wizard in a lot of different situations. Here he's able to just rip through all of his barbarians because of that wizard. The wizard has more damage output than the executioner, as long when it comes to his actual hit does more damage. The executioner has a larger radius of denial, and so that's where the perk comes with the executioner. But the wizard is very strong. It really is. It just is more easily countered by things like the fireball. So here he's able to defend against that balloon push, and then he just drops his giant skeleton right there. He knows his opponent's main deck, or his deck is an air deck, and so because his opponent doesn't have those barbarians or the lumberjack in cycle, he can put down that giant skeleton and safely get a tower even before 2 times elixir with this absolutely just crazy deck here. Now the double bandit there, maybe not wasn't the best time to do that, but he's able to make it work out because he's able to put this wizard right down there. Now his opponent has balloon freeze, which is just absolutely crazy. If you want another unique deck to try out in grand challenges, maybe this deck is for you. Lumberjack, balloon, rocket, freeze. Whoa, very interesting. With the baby dragon, the minions, and then also the arrows. It's definitely a unique deck. So here he puts down his giant skeleton as a way to defend that the Electro Wizard is able to slow down that balloon, and then that tornado helps pull it even further back so that it does not do any damage to the tower except for its bomb that lands there and explodes. Now Mikey has only 38 seconds left. He knows that he has to defend. This is going to be a little bit more difficult than he would like because of that rocket there. His wizard is just out of range to hit both the tower and the rocket, and here he is set up with his push. His opponent just has to cycle back to the rocket to get that tower, and so he's got to be careful. Mikey has to do a really massive push, and that's one thing that is so good about this deck is its ability to push and just kind of keep your opponent on edge right now. His opponent doesn't have anywhere near the elixir to be able to drop that rocket, but he's going to here in just a moment. Mikey's not letting up at all, and just a split second too late. His opponent is not able to get that rocket, but his Mikey was ready to do a counter push if he was able to. Guys, that is it for the video. Let me know what you think about this deck. If you are interested in learning more how to use it, make sure you read the guide in ClashRoyaleArena.com. For now, this is KairosTime ticking by, and we will see you in the arena.